Ahoy! The original plan for today was a completely different video, but we're going to talk about these news that just came out because I think it's incredibly interesting what's happening in the gaming scene right now. And that is Microsoft buying Zenimax Media. Zenimax Media being, well, not only but primarily Bethesda, and that being like a whole different strategy that Microsoft is driving here. The news article came from Nibelian on Twitter, or he was the first one to link it that I saw at least. And yeah, there's a bunch of information in there. We are gonna jump into the article itself though. So, well, it's something that's so far mostly going around in the business world. It hasn't really reached the gaming world, the gaming news world yet. We'll see that soon enough, I'm sure. But what we can what we can get from this article is very interesting. So the main point here, obviously, Zenimax Media was bought by Microsoft for 7.5 billion in cash. And what exactly that encompasses is something we can look at as well, because there's quite a few different sub studios or whatever, or games that run under them. So the most popular one, obviously, Elder Scrolls, including the Elder Scrolls Online, Skyrim, and everything else around it, as well as the upcoming one that they're working on, and obviously Fallout, being the whole franchise up to Fallout 4, and then Fallout 76 as well, which is its own thing. Then you also have Doom under it, you have Rage under it, you have Elder Scrolls Online, Prey, there's the Elder Scrolls Legend, I think it's the card game, Dishonored, Wolfenstein, The Evil Within, and Quake. So a massive amount of relatively popular games that they all just got a hold of for a pretty hefty price. Now, I think it's worth keeping in mind here that Bethesda isn't exactly at its peak in terms of reputation right now, but we'll get to that. So what is the plan here? Basically, they're talking a little bit about how they reached 15 million subscribers on the Game Pass in this part. And now they're adding a bunch of new studios as well. And what they're planning to do is they want to bring Bethesda's future games into Game Pass the same day as they launch on Xbox or PC. Like Starfield, one of the games they're working on. Which is crazy, because that means basically the next Elder Scrolls, whatever comes after Skyrim, will also be in the Game Pass on launch. And the Game Pass is something that we can also talk about, because the Game Pass has been steadily increasing in the content that it has. Initially, it was kind of lackluster, but like the introduction deal on PC was just $5 per month, which I think is, it's just, I guess, what's that price at this point anyways? Like a Spotify subscription is more. I think Netflix is more. So yeah, unless you're getting some other deal, it's pretty cheap. And they had a pretty decent collection of titles on that. That's now been increased to $10 a month. But now they will add, I suppose, quite a few different older Bethesda titles to the Game Pass, if not all of them, because that's kind of what they've been doing. Like everything that's under the banner of Microsoft just goes onto Game Pass. And well, they're also talking about, a little bit later, they're talking about how they just launched cloud gaming with the Game Pass Ultimate. So that's definitely the long-term play for them as well. When cloud gaming gets developed further, that you can use that to play on devices that would otherwise not allow you to run games like this as well. And just basically stream the games and then, be able to play on every device. That's kind of what they title us in the rest of the article, essentially. So very interesting development, and this has quite a different implications as well. I think in that context, it's interesting to quickly look at the studios that Microsoft has bought over time. They've bought Obsidian, which I guess Obsidian and ZeniMax coming back together now, I guess, or Bethesda coming back together, whichever way you want to look at it. It's also very interesting considering they worked on Fallout in the past. And then they have In Exile, which is Wasteland, which I'm not too familiar with. There is Ninja Theory, which made Hellblade, as well as recently not so successfully Bleeding Edge, and then Hellblade 2 and whatever. Then you have Playground Games, who did the Forza series but are now working on Fable, which I'm really, really excited for. You have Compulsion Games, which made the We Happy Few. Undead Labs, I'm not sure. State of Decay, okay. The initiative was not involved in anything beforehand. Whatever, you get the idea. Mojang, Rare with Sea of Thieves, and 343 Industries. I think it's 343, 343, whatever. Halo Coalition, which is it Gears? Yeah, it's Gears. Turn 10, whatever that Forza as well. So a ton of studios that are already running under them, and the theme with Microsoft in that regard has been quite consistent. So they're collecting all these studios basically, and then giving them essentially free reign. There's very little say, as far as it's at least presented to the outside from Microsoft in these individual studios, but rather they let most of these studios do what they've been doing before. They're like, here, have a bag of money from us, have the funding. We want you to make the game the way that you envision it, and then based on that, we can make money with the Game Pass. That's kind of the strategy. It doesn't always seem to fully apply. For example, I'm not quite sure what happened with Rare in that context, because I think Sea of Thieves was already under the Game Pass. So that seemed to be a bit of a rushed release, but I'm not sure if that was at the end of the day, if that was Rare's decision or someone else's, or how Microsoft played into that. But I do think, generally speaking, we can expect games that are launched by Obsidian or by Zenimax under Microsoft to have a bit of a better schedule. Because if we look back at Fallout 76, that's, I guess, the biggest example of this one. It didn't do well because it was completely rushed. It was just thrown out of the window before it was ready. And if that had more time, I think that would have been a much more successful game. And if this game goes under Microsoft's banner and they put some money into it, it might actually develop to be a better game in the long run. They might actually work on optimization, who knows? Because Microsoft actually cares about games running decently on PC as well, because their Game Pass model is, or their Game Pass goal is to bring it not only to Xbox, but also bring it to PC big time. And for that, you want to have games that run well on PC. So it would be a bit ironic if they don't do that. So very, very interesting development overall. Very curious to see how this goes. But this also means that, generally speaking, Microsoft is once again looking more and more for the push of the Game Pass over the focus on the console itself. So a lot of people have been wondering, why does the Xbox not launch with a lot of exclusives and everything? And the general consensus within the tech scene seems to be that they're not really looking to be the leading console. They're looking to be the leading subscription service. They're looking to have people that just want that Game Pass, and wherever they get it. They get it on PC, they get it on the console. It doesn't matter for them. As long as they're paying monthly for that, it's $120 a year for something where Microsoft has made all the investments prior to this happening, and not having to spend money on it, obviously outside of hosting servers, to produce it. Whereas if you sell a console, you have to invest the money into the material, into everything that you spend on the console to build it first, and on the production of the console. And that all falls away with digital goods. So for Microsoft, this may be a very profitable path in the long run. And they can always, tweak the prices of the Game Pass and everything, and you can't really change that. And once you're kind of in that system of not buying games but getting them on the Game Pass, I feel like it's really hard to get out, because at some point, you have your progress in your games, and then you can't play any of them anymore because you're in that Game Pass system. So once you're in there, once you're very involved, you're probably going to stick with it, and that's highly profitable for Microsoft in the long run. So very interesting strategy that they're running there, and I think with Bethesda being involved, this now becomes a lot more interesting as well, because they have so many more big names under this, and there were already a lot of interesting games on the Game Pass beforehand. So yeah, it is scary, I think, because it means that we see more and more of the studios fall under the same banners. Like, it's just the market of between indie games and the really big names is getting smaller and smaller. Either you're indie and you're not bought yet, or you're under one of the big names because they've bought you. And that's not always good for a studio. If you look, for example, at Activision Blizzard, which used to, as Blizzard, be one of the best game developers there was at the time, and now is, well, let's not talk about that. So we'll see how that goes. It depends a lot on what direction Microsoft takes us in as well. If they keep this drive of, you know, having this high amount of freedom for all the developers, or if they say at some point, you know what, we want to have a little bit more influence, these guys are too slow or something. So yeah, that's the news for now. It's interesting to see what happens out of this, but I definitely wanted to let you guys know about this. And yeah, let me know how you feel about this big pickup, and what that, you know, does for you in terms of consoles as well. Like I think most people will still not opt towards the Xbox if they have a PC, because yeah, you just get the PS5 exclusive. So why would you want to go for an Xbox if you can use it on a PC? But then at the same time, if you are an Xbox user and you use the Game Pass, then it's a relatively good deal again. So yeah, depends, I guess. But let me know how you feel about this. I'm just very interested about that. On that, thank you guys very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, hit the sub button and maybe the bell so you get updated of other gaming news. That's my stuff. And on that, see you for the next one tomorrow, I think. Yeah, should be out tomorrow. Sloth out.